Number 7, it's not uncommon to leave a job and go out with a bang. However, most people do it on their last day. Was there any strategy involved with sending the email before your last day? Did you go back to the office after sending the email? There was no strategy involved, and when I wrote the email, I was in my bed comfortably writing this email and didn't plan to go back to the office. I was supposed to be at a conference last week, and I missed my flight, and I knew that day was going to be the day I quit, and I sent the email, and I didn't look back. Okay, number 8, what is your response to people that say your email was immature and unprofessional? I truly wouldn't argue that. It's definitely not something that I'm used to doing. This is my first time ever doing something like this. I definitely wouldn't argue that. I think my approach was, first of all, unprofessional, and it wasn't the most mature thing. However, my email was clearly sort of my thought process at that moment, and my thoughts are unorganized, my thoughts aren't professional, my thoughts aren't always the most mature thing, and at that point, I was just wanting to be uncut, raw, myself, unedited. I didn't really care about professionalism or whatever. I was so sick of it by that point. I didn't really care about too much when I sent that email, and I wasn't thinking about who would think I'm immature, who's going to hate me, who's going to hope I never see a job again in life. I wasn't really thinking about any of that. I was thinking about myself, and I was thinking about, just living my truth, saying everything I wanted to say to get it off my chest, and bringing light to certain issues that I feel are very prevalent in public accounting, that are basically pretty negative. So my response to people, there is no response. At the time, like I said, I wasn't trying to be professional. I didn't care about that at that point. You don't go your whole life being a professional. When you die, professional is not going to be written on your tombstone. To me, it was more about, I need to live my truth at this moment, and that's what I did. Number 9, as a woman of color, do you feel you faced any unique challenges during your time within public accounting? This is a good question. I don't know if I would be speaking as a woman of color, as opposed to just speaking as a human being. I feel like there are a lot of challenges in public accounting, just based on my internships, as I said, based on my short experience at PwC, because I did start in September, and that's how quickly it clicked that I definitely didn't need to be here. And I think basically everything in that email that I wrote, I 100% stand behind. The challenges that I faced are in that email. Everything that I was unhappy with was in that email. So I feel like if I sit here and I try to explain myself or regurgitate what was in the email, it would just be a waste of time. But I don't think there was anything unique as far as challenges for me. I think it's just I've faced challenges that many people have faced in public accounting. Number 10, while we are aware of various diversity initiatives that have been implemented at the Big Four, based on your experience, do you believe the overall corporate culture of public accounting is conducive to the retention of minorities? Honestly, again, speaking just in terms of everyone, not just minorities, I don't think the Big Four is conducive, like, how do I word this? I don't think the Big Four knows how to retain their people, obviously. I mean, they're leaving in flocks. You can't retain people in the Big Four unless you make some really big changes. There's no way. That's why they have to spend so much more money recruiting people every year, when it really needs to go to retaining people, because it's just a waste of money. But then again, they have the money to spend, right? So, but honestly, no, the Big Four will never retain, a lot of their employees, because it's just the environment doesn't promote that at all. Number 11, do you have any suggestions for improving upon the retention rate of minorities at public accounting firms? Well, just based on my experience, I do have one suggestion. Say what you want about it, but this is just my personal opinion. A lot of these public accounting firms nowadays are putting extra emphasis on diversity initiatives and promoting diversity within the firm, and doing all of these, honestly, sometimes unnecessary things around diversity to sort of bring more attention to it in the firm and make sure that the culture is inclusive and all of this stuff. And to be honest, most of that stuff is just unnecessary, and I think it does more to separate people than it does to bring them together. For instance, PwC puts on a Vanguard conference, which is some kind of diversity leadership conference, that's held annually for all Black new hires. Now, imagine trying to explain something like this to your senior, about having to be away for a few days to go to some diversity leadership conference. And, there are also other new hires on your team, and they're wondering why they're not going. And you're basically like, well, this is a diversity conference, and it's basically meant for African American people. I mean, that is just a very awkward conversation to be had. To be honest, it does more, in my opinion, to really bring attention to race and to really separate people. The reason why I'm going is because I'm Black. We're both new hires, but I'm going because I'm Black, and you have to stay here and do some audit work. I'm sorry, honey. I mean, how do you explain something like that? Even to your seniors, it's kind of just an awkward conversation. It's very uncomfortable, at least in my opinion, in my experience. I found it very uncomfortable. Not saying that the event wasn't going to be fun or it wasn't going to be a good event, because I'm sure it would have been. My point is, things like that really do more to bring people, apart, to tear people apart. In my opinion, in this day and age, it should be more about bringing people together. Oh, if we're going to have a conference, let's bring all the new hires to a conference. If you want to have one or two sessions about, diversity and maybe the problems you may face, or just, bring more awareness to it, have those breakout sessions. But to have a whole event and exclude, many races of people out of it and just make it about African Americans, honestly, I think that does more to bring people or to tear people apart. So in my opinion, I would say do things that bring people together. Don't, I know these firms have, their diversity leaders and, certain things that, and metrics that they have to, sort of stick to throughout the year, and, programs that they have to put on or whatever. But I just say, look at the bigger picture. You're trying to bring people together, right? Trying to be inclusive. So I think by excluding people out, it only tears people apart. And I feel like, honestly, an event like that would be good with all the new hires, because they get to learn about maybe issues that I guess, African Americans would experience versus other people. If that's the case, they should be there with everybody else learning it too, to be honest. It's just very, like I said, uncomfortable. And I can only speak for myself, but for me, I found it sort of hard to do. Like, it's just kind of also embarrassing. Like, oh, I need to have a few days off because I have to go to this like Black conference. It's just stuff like that. I also have another issue that I've noticed. It's still around this diversity thing. I feel like a lot of these diversity initiatives put on by these firms have become more of like a numbers game and more like, oh, we need to make diversity important. I sort of feel like it's starting to feel forced. And whenever you have all of these people going around calling you a diversity hire, something needs to change, because once your diversity program turns into this, oh, Black and Hispanic people only get hired as diversity hire things, something needs to be done about the program, and about the overall message of the program in general. Honestly, I would much rather go through regular recruitment and do everything with everyone than to be some kind of diversity hire, as they call it, and be excluded going to these African American events, having these awkward conversations, and being treated as if I'm, somehow different. Like I said, race shouldn't be an issue. Race really shouldn't be the focus of diversity programs, in my opinion. I think diversity programs are good. However, everyone should be included. Everyone should be learning. And this whole line between diversity hires and Caucasian hires should diminish, because it has nothing to do with work ethic. It has nothing to do with how well you'll, perform on the job, how smart you are. It has nothing to do with any of that. So I think the recruiting teams, the diversity teams, really need to sit down and really think about their message and how they're going to change this, because honestly, in my opinion, it's trash. All right. The last question says, a quick Google search can reveal many things about a person. As you move forward in your career, how do you plan on explaining this email to future employers should this come up? You're right. Google does reveal a lot of things about you. However, I've been keeping track of my Google search results like I always have been. And, this has not affected me at all. And if it affects me in the future, so be it. Whatever it is, whatever opportunity it is, it wasn't meant to be. However, I'm not going to sit here and worry or think about, the potential negative effects this may have on my life, when I can sit here and think about all the positive things that have come and will come from this, and will come from, just my natural abilities and my dedication to whatever I'm doing. This email does not define me. This email does not define my work ethic. It doesn't define my competency. This email is just a reflection of the truth that I was living at that very moment. So to answer your question, at this point in my life, I just can't be bothered by that. But thank you so much for allowing me to do this with you, and I hope that you have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.